what are we here for today?
Well, today we're here in stand for justice for the families of Dominic Silva, who was killed by the police officer about 4 years ago. And we're also here for justice for the family of Joseph Farinelli. His mom has been kind of fighting for the investigation to be re-looked at because it was kind of botched in the beginning. And we're also standing for the most recent case was Alex Pina, who was actually killed in a motorcycle accident. Well, motorcycle versus car accident.
Right.
And just something is not sitting right with the community when it comes to that investigation. Nobody was charged. Nobody was even breathalyzer, tested for alcohol. And it's just something's just doesn't seem to sit right. And there's a lot of talk that there's a cover-up going on, with the police versus with the people who were involved in the accident, let's just say. So,
yeah, sure.
Allegedly, possibly seats might have been switched, according to witnesses.
Okay.
But when they witnesses tried to call the state police to come because they realized that the Pawtucket police wasn't really taking statements properly, Pawtucket police told the state police they didn't need to come because they weren't charging anyone. So we're just trying to be here and be a voice for the families in mourning, that on top of losing a loved one, they're being kind of like punished extra on top of that by a process that obviously isn't working for anyone at this point. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure.
And it's just a way for us. We're not standing here against the police. We're standing here today against the process, the investigations being not done correctly. So let's just put it that way, in our opinion, right?
Yeah, right.
So it's not about saying that police are bad or anything. This is a little bit different. We're standing for the justice, and we work. I've been working with a group that's been working with the police lately, so we can help bring the community kind of together. So, like I said, we don't want people to think that this is like a protest. It's not a protest. First of all, we're doing it in during the day where the families want to come here. They're still in mourning, so we're trying to respect the family, but we're trying to get them some answers. They deserve that. They shouldn't be punished on top of what they're already going through with a loss.
What are the people hearing, what the families hearing when they go to the public officials like the chief of police or the mayor or other people who might have some say?
Well, the problem is that with this city, the mayor and the chief are kind of not easily accessible, right? So, thankfully, myself and a group called CU4PC, we have been meeting with the city and the chief for about 2 months now, to try to fix the relationship between the community and the police, right? And we're slowly making progress, but the problem is that when things like this happen, they want to silence the community, including community leaders. So we have not had the opportunity to raise the question even during our meetings because they shy away from that, you know what I mean? Especially when something's brand new.
Yeah.
But all we're asking for is, so in the case of Alex Pina, all we're asking is that you charge somebody and the truth will come out, right?
Yeah.
So why wasn't anybody charged? They should have been charged because at the end of the day, they did test the alcohol level on the deceased, right? But they didn't test the alcohol level on the person that was driving the car that hit him head on.
Right.
It's just nothing that's adding up.
Sure.
So we're asking obvious questions. Anybody, anybody would ask those questions.
Have you spoken at all to the Attorney General about any of this, or?
I have not. I'm just a community leader trying to give the family a voice. The family do have an attorney.
Okay.
So I'm sure that's something that they can, I can help. A team of mine called Around Accountability. Actually, she's standing right behind you.
Yeah.
They help a lot with these types of situations. So as the process continues, we're hoping we don't have to go that far, right? Why can't the police just work with the community?
Sure.
Because at this time, with everything that's happening nationally, it's probably better for them to just work with the community and answer the tough questions.
Right,
You know
and
what
that's
I mean?
actually the first step.
Right. If they want us to trust them with the process when it comes to our loved ones' lives, then they need to trust what the community is saying, the voices in the streets, so to speak.
Yeah.
And at least look into some of these things and refresh the family that maybe that's not what happened. But right now, how do you not believe the rumors when you don't have anything saying the opposite?
Right.
Except for, a police officer saying that they weren't drinking. How do you know? You didn't even test them to know that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Can I ask about your T-shirt? My Life Mattered.
My T-shirt. This is Dominic Silva. That's on my T-shirt, and it's 4 years ago, a little over 4 years ago. He was killed by a Pawtucket police officer, and the sad thing is that on top of losing him, the family also went through 3 years of the police report being held hostage, right? So
Really?
they got several attorneys that tried to retrieve the police report in order to take the case on, and it would not be released to them. So 3 years go by, and the mother, without an attorney, she did file a claim with the Superior Court.
Yeah.
And then we got a person by the name Lynn Farinelli involved, who's from Rhode Island Accountability. She stepped in and she put in an APA request for that report as Rhode Island Accountability. And then it was maybe a year later after she fought with the AG's office too, right? The AG's office had to demand that the Pawtucket police release that information to her.
Right.
So 4 years later, because of her fight, the family was able to get an attorney
So
and
they
possibly.
finally got the report. Was that within the last year or so they got the report?
Yeah, this was.
So did the new Attorney General.
They got the report in January.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. After 4 years of
There's no
trouble.
need for that, right?
No, there's no need for that.
What are you hiding if you don't? If
Right.
you're holding the police report hostage, what are you hiding?
Right.
We now know. We now have an idea.
Yeah,
I
we
can't
have an
say
idea.
too much because
Yeah,
I have
sure.
seen the report.
Okay.
But why does it have to take so long?
Yeah.
You know, the mom still today is grieving, right?
Of course.
She's here today. She's
So there's
grieving.
no closure.
There's no closure. Why
Right.
wouldn't, on top of taking someone's life, right? Why don't you care enough to just allow that family some closure and prove
Right.
that indeed it was a justified shooting, right?
Yeah.
If it was, you should have nothing to hide.
As a Pawtucket resident, how do you feel the police serve your needs? Like, how do you feel about the police? Like, if you were in trouble and needed to call them, would you feel any hesitancy?
If that's a
So
loaded question, I apologize.
that's a very good question.
Yeah.
Probably, well, you're asking me directly, so I'm going to answer
Okay,
for
sure.
myself, right? Is that I'm a community leader, and I'm an activist, and I'm an advocate. I'm
Yeah.
not very liked, you know, because of I stand for the people who are voiceless.
Yeah.
I'm not afraid to use my voice. So the problem is that retaliation happens, and I have been retaliated against
Okay.
for a very long time. It's gotten so old that I don't even worry about it anymore. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I think that lately I've called a couple of times because, you know, I'm out in the community. So
Yeah.
it's my duty to help others. So I can't say I can't call them.
Right.
I'm not against all police. You know, I have friends in the police department. I have called. And I can honestly say that lately, some of the new recruits that do show up when I call,
Yeah.
they're excellent. Excellent. They're so professional, so good. You know, the bad apples are more the older ones that have been here so long, and we don't want them to influence the newer guys that are doing a great job
Yeah,
or
right,
trying
right.
their best. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you don't want that institutional.
Yeah, so we have to
right.
fix what's been there for so long and let the new guys have a chance to get it right.
Yeah.
You know, community policing is so important. We used to have that.
I know.
It just disappeared, and nobody knows why.
Well, I remember going back to even the Sewell administration when most of the police officers here were let go.
Yeah.
And they had to basically rehire a whole new force. I mean, it wasn't
Right.
like 5 survivors.
Survivors from the old
Right,
times.
and I'm glad that you bring that up because we had several minority officers about 5-6 years ago.
Yeah.
I think there were a total of 5. Well, all 5 filed a complaint. I think it was on the Valley Breeze.
I remember that.
About you remember that?
I
A lot of
remember that,
people
yeah.
don't remember that, right? And the interesting thing is, where are they?
Right.
Most I don't know where they are. The
Yeah,
ones
yeah.
that complained, they all of a sudden they poof and disappeared, and nobody can answer where they went.
Interesting.
Did they resign? Did they get fired for telling? You know what I mean?
Right.
These are the types of things that we should know. Because if you're gonna recruit more minority police officers, I'm gung ho. Like, don't go until it's safe. Because
Yeah,
if you're
yeah.
gonna go in and think that you have a secure job, what happens to the other ones that went and
Sure.
It's one thing to hire minority officers. It's a whole different thing when you show that you can't even retain them.
Right.
Why can't you retain minority officers?
And it's like interesting
Because I don't think, I mean, I haven't looked at the statistics recently, but I remember reading that the racial breakdown, let's say, of the Pawtucket police is not
No, it doesn't
like
match
what the
the
community doesn't match the community at all.
Does
right?
not, at
yeah.
all.
And that's true for almost all the jobs in the city. But I mean, I know in police, it's kind of where the rubber meets the road, where
Right.
everybody sees each other. You know?
Exactly.
So. Okay,
And that's
but-
another thing too. Transparency is just not there. Like, when we ask for how many officers live in the city, we can't get an answer.
Yeah. And it's
Right.
interesting because you'd be able, I mean, even if they want to protect their identities,
they should at least be able to say, oh,
How many?
50%, 25, 100%, whatever it is,
'Cause
right?
If we've got them coming from outside,
Yeah.
now we're being harassed by people who possibly were brought up in in an area or a community that didn't have as many minorities. We're a very diverse community.
Right.
And I said this to the mayor plenty of times, like, at least they should be open. If they don't want to work with minorities, just at least be open about that, because why should we have to pay for
Right.
their attitude or their mood? You know, so, I mean, I just think it's such an easy fix, right? And
Yeah.
for it to seem so difficult, like, for me as a community leader, a minority community leader, I've got to jump through hoops to get a meeting with the mayor or anybody in the city, and that shouldn't
Right.
even be right,
Sure.
right? Why, what are you hiding?
I don't
Or
think he's
why-
that busy.
they're not, really.
Right, I know.
But I mean, like I said, we have been making a little bit of progress. We've been meeting for several months now, a group of community leaders, locally and from outside of Pawtucket, trying to see how we can fix this. We are really pushing for a community review board.
Yeah.
I mean, every other city
Similar
is
to what
doing it.
Providence has.
Yeah, every
Yeah.
other city's doing it. Why shouldn't we, right?
Right.
I don't know if people know this, but, you know, Pawtucket is one of the worst police departments in the state. I mean, I'm not lying. I'm not making that up.
I know
Statistically, it is.
they've shoot more often than any other
Yes,
percentage-wise.
absolutely. So
Right.
you would think that they would want to have that type of transparency. You know what I
Right.
mean? I want that for them, right? Because I know that the majority of them are good.
Yeah.
So you got to figure out who's against the transparency, right? A lot of times it's the union president,
Yeah.
and I can tell you from my personal experience
Okay.
and retaliation that's been done against me. The union president, Mr. Officer Bento,
Uh-huh.
is the major issue we have here in Pawtucket.
Interesting.
He's a major issue. See, I don't go after all cops. I'll call them out by name.
Yep.
You know, that's the difference between me and most. I'll call them out by name. You know, the retaliation has been so real, like I said to you before, that it doesn't even faze me anymore. I'm sorry. I've
Yeah.
actually gotten used to it.
We should talk more often down the road.
Absolutely.
I mean, this is an interesting subject, and I'd love to pursue it
Absolutely.
more here. And